Welcome, friends, to Sunday Word for October 17th. This is the last in our series of reflections that are based on Skye Jethani's book, If Jesus Were Serious About Prayer. This morning I want to read to you from John 14, verses 8 through 14. In the New International Version, it says this: Philip said, "Lord, show us the Father, and that will be enough for us." Jesus answered, "Don't you know me, Philip? Even after I've been among you such a long time. Anyone who has seen me has seen the Father. How can you say, 'Show us the Father'? Don't you believe that I am in the Father and the Father is in me? The words I say to you, I do not speak on my own authority. Rather, it is the Father living in me who is doing his work. Believe me when I say that I am in the Father and the Father is in me, or at least believe on the evidence of the works themselves. Very truly I tell you, whoever believes in me will do the works I have been doing, and they will do even greater things than these, because I am going to the Father. And I will do whatever you ask in my name, so that the Father may be glorified in the Son. You may ask me for anything in my name, and I will do it." As I've mentioned earlier, many times when I speak to people about prayer, probably the most common sort of response that I get is, "Oh, that's the way that I speak with God." Now, if prayer is simply communication with God, if all we're doing is talking to him, then in fact all we need is words. But over the past number of weeks, we've been exploring some different concepts, and in fact, I'm hoping we can acknowledge that prayer has some very deep significance, and in fact, sometimes words, although they can be important, sometimes they even get in the way. There are places, for example, where Jesus indicates some things about his relationship with the Father. His relationship with the Father is rooted in prayer, and he tells us things about this relationship that are very profound. In that passage in John 14, he says, "I am in the Father, and the Father is in me." Believe me when I say that. He said this in verse 11. He said the Father is living in him. You know, this to me indicates more than simply a conversation. What I'd like to suggest is a more complete concept of prayer might be described as a communion with God. Now, when we're in Christian circles and we speak about communion, you know, perhaps some people are thinking that we're referring to the wine and the bread. That the word actual communion means, by definition, the sharing or exchange of intimate thoughts and feelings. This is a very profound relationship that is bound not simply by words, but an intimate kind of sharing, as it says, with thoughts and feelings. Yeah, this isn't just a simple conversation. You know, conversations just require words. But this kind of relationship, this very deep, intimate relationship, this requires our heart and our mind, our soul. It requires even our bodies. It requires everything there is of us. Just think about the way Jesus, you know, not just in John 14, also in John 5, just the way he describes his relationship with the Father. In 5:19, it says, "The Son can do nothing of his own accord, but only what he sees the Father doing. For whatever the Father does, the Son does likewise." There is this mysterious unity between the Father and the Son that Jesus is referring to here. And this is the kind of relationship that he's modeling for us, that he's inviting us into. This real deep sense of unity with the Father. You know, it's really hard to understand. I guess the only way that we can understand it, the only way that maybe we can actually get a glimpse of it, is to enter into the process itself. You know, I remember reading Mother Teresa was speaking with someone, was interviewing her, and she was talking about her relationship with God in prayer. And the interviewer just got so confused as Mother Teresa was speaking. And she eventually just said, "If you don't understand that, I can't explain it to you." There is certainly a mystery to this relationship that Jesus had with the Father that he now invites us to have. There's certainly some things that are very difficult for understand, but the only way that we can get a glimpse of it is to actually enter into this process where we will begin to seek to be filled with God, as I spoke about earlier, to be filled with God, and to not simply be talking to him, but to be in his presence, and have this ability to share our feelings and our thoughts, not just what we want or what's going on in our lives, and that we would have that sense of him sharing with us as well. Again, like Mother Teresa says, maybe I can't explain it. I know my words are very weak to explain this profound privilege that we have to enter into this kind of relationship. My purpose right now might not be to define all the mysteries of prayer, but I'm hoping that we can acknowledge today that prayer is deeper than simply communicating. It's more than just words. This opportunity for communion, to build a real sense of unity with God, is what we at Bloor Central want to be focusing on. Even though I can't understand all of the mysteries of prayer, I do believe I'm learning. I do believe that so much of the mystery of prayer can be found in stillness, to actually find a time to be quiet. Karen and I have often spoken about the importance of setting quiet time aside. And there is something of that is so essential about being quiet. The noise of our world often blocks us from recognizing the presence of God. And it's in stillness that we are given the benefit of connecting with him in a more authentic way. And so I believe that stillness and quietness is a very important part, but that's not the whole thing. We see what Jesus is saying, that him and the Father were together all the time. There was no sort of break. That's one of the challenges we face, is that as we seek to have a quiet time with God and we become aware of his presence, but then we have to move out into the world and to fulfill our responsibilities. And quite often that can be a break. As we leave the quietness and stillness, we find ourselves, our communion with God is broken. And yet in 1 Thessalonians 5:17 it says we're supposed to be praying continually. So as we go out into the world, we're supposed to be that there's not supposed to be a break in our communion with God. And so what we really need to be working at is, as we have these quiet times and we grow in our capacity to commune with God, that we look for ways now that as I move out into the activity of my day, that my contact with God is not broken. Boy, and that's a challenge. To pray without ceasing, it means that there's never a time, there's never a place where we need to be disconnected from our Heavenly Father. I want to encourage you in these days to seek and experience a deep experience of communion with God, to become a praying church. Lord, teach us to pray.